5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett. Look, here's me. You see, could I do this if we weren't live? Yeah, I probably could, actually. Listen, we're going to do an interview that we played once before, maybe a couple of times before, I don't know, but I did a lot of talking last night, and I've still got a few health problems that are still bothering me a little bit, so I don't want to work myself too hard. So I figured we'd play this interview we did, really good interview, with a guy from Saturday Night Live and lots of movies like Deuce Bigalow and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Rob Schneider trying to eat something. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, look who we have here. Gosh, I haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been a while, buddy.
Yeah, it's been a while. Ladies and gentlemen, please. What?
Me.
What?
You got videos behind you. I got books behind me.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a reader and I'm a watcher.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So how you been, Rob Schneider?
Praised, man. But in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
It's like quality problems.
Quality problems.
They're all problems, but you just want good ones. You know, you don't want to have to sell your refrigerator to. You want to buy crack. That's like a bad problem.
Yeah.
The good problem is you got a TV show, you got to promote it and pay for it. You know, for whatever extra stuff that Netflix doesn't pay for, I got to pay for. So
Netflix gives you a certain amount of money, and the rest of it you have to come up with.
Yeah. Well, they don't give you the money all up front. They pay you over time. So you got to go to like the bank and then borrow some money. And then I just said, you know what? I'll just front it myself, and then they'll pay me. When they pay me, it'll be fun. You know. So I'm an idiot. Also, I should tell you that.
Yeah.
I should tell your listeners that too.
Well, now this thing you've got, it's called Real Rob.
Yes, sir.
And it's on Netflix. Let's get the whole plug out of the way early here in the conversation. All right. And it almost looks in many ways like it's a homemade production. In other words, is that your house?
Yes.
That is what?
Some of it was shot in studio, but some of it's my house, yeah.
Yeah, some of it's your house. All right. Is that your child?
Yeah, cheaper.
Yeah.
Use your own kid.
Yeah, and is that your wife?
That's my wife. Cheaper. Use your own wife.
Yeah. So, and you directed. You directed. Huh?
Very much, you know, my dream was to try to make something like Fawlty Towers my entire life. And so I married a woman, luckily, a brilliant comedian she's from Mexico. She never acted before, but I just knew she'd be great. And so, you know, I met with John Cleese. He was nice enough to talk to me and give me some advice for the series.
Yeah.
And he said, "Did you write it all? Did you write it all beforehand, before you shot it?" And I went, "Yes, good. Then you can get somewhere interesting." And so, you know, Cleese kind of gave me. I said, "Can you give me your blessings?" And he kind of did this to me. So it was nice. He's my hero.
I had him on the show once years ago at Live 105 in San Francisco. The nicest guy I've ever dealt with.
Oh, incredible. No, he was just like, he was so nice to me and generous and telling me stories and like, and then when I got up to leave, he got up to leave and he's like 6'5", you know.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, you know, are you writing the new series?" And I said, we're starting to do an outline." He said, "Okay, good." See, the difference is when we wrote the first season and the second season, the first season we wrote we were married. The second season we wrote we were divorced. No, I don't know. I can't afford that. He said, "Neither could I."
Yes, exactly. But you're still married, so everything's fine.
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet, Alex.
When does the new one come out?
Midnight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Worldwide. 190 countries. Can you imagine this?
Wow. Now, the first one must have done okay. Otherwise, Netflix wouldn't have picked up a second series.
I know. What's the point? Yeah, if they don't. Yeah. So they were happy enough with it. Enough, you know. I say enough is the word I like to use. But here's my lovely wife. Patricia, say hi to my buddy for 35 years.
She is the other star of the program. Hello, Patricia. How are you?
Good.
My
How
buddy
are you?
Alex Bennett from San Francisco back in the day. He's in New York right now.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I was a judge at your comedy competition. Do you remember?
Yes, 80 what?
80,
Seven?
87. Yeah,
Oh,
something
And
like
he supported me back then when he didn't have to.
oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
And I didn't want to be a judge because I was afraid everybody would say, "Oh, you're going to fix it," and so on. So I didn't want to do it, and I always refused to do it. And finally, one day I said,
They
"Okay."
made you do it because you were the biggest comedy supporter in the Bay Area.
Yeah, well-
So to not have Alex Bennett would be, you missing something.
Well, so I said I was gonna. Oh, it's cute. I said that I didn't want to do it because people would accuse me of stuff, of knowing you guys and being friends with you people and so on.
You
And
were
s-
100% right, and you should
Yeah.
have stayed out of
Yeah.
it because there was a no win-win situation.
no, so what
basically, your listeners who don't know,
Yeah.
the guy who got the win of the comedy competition, who had a great show that night, people were unhappy, and they were going to blame somebody because there could only be one winner that night, and I purposely did not want to win because I believed that if you won that, you were cursed.
Yes, right.
And I was right. I was right.
You're right. Robin Williams lost it.
So did Dana Carvey. There's no way I wanted to win that.
But anyway, so what happened was I brought my friend Richard Shecky from the Letterman show and had him on one side of me and I had my girlfriend on the other, and I said, "Look, I'm going to vote here. And if you think that I'm voting because I know these guys and I'm prejudiced to these guys and they weren't as good as to get just let me know. In other words, keep me honest, okay?"
Yeah.
And so you come on and I vote on how good your set is, and Warren comes on and I do how good his set is, and I guess who was the favored comic in that bunch? It was was it a impersonator or a magician or somebody?
I think Rick Reynolds was the one that
Rick Reynolds.
I think he was the one who. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I would have to
Well,
say, if you wrote down his set, he was the best of all of us. It was Rob Becker, me, Rick Reynolds, and then I forget the other.
Warren Thomas.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
And
Warren.
was Stephen
Warren was, and Warren was the best performer.
Yeah,
I
well,
thought.
Warren won the comedy competition, but here's
Yeah.
why: it's 2 nights, and it's a rolling average of the 2 nights. Okay, between the judges and the audience voting and so on. All right, so it was 2 nights, and what happened was, one night, both nights, Warren came in second, and Reynolds came in first. But he came in first the first night, third the second night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That
Okay,
makes sense.
and so it
Yeah.
averaged out to Warren winning. And so now everybody's going, Bennett fixed the comedy competition.
You know what? If you would have explained that clearer that night, that would have prevented 40 years of angst. But that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the truth. I think Warren is a better performer, more likable, and more memorable.
Yeah.
I mean, Rick Reynolds had a better act. I really do. I do think so.
I think he maybe had a better act, but
A lot of times with comedians, it's what happened in that moment. And you got to go with and Warren. It was Warren's night.
let's look at these people. You certainly have turned out to be a massive failure because you didn't win it, right? Rob Becker went on to have a very successful run on Broadway with a Broadway show, one-man show.
$49 million he made off of that.
Did he make $49 million off of that?
I think it takes me about 7 years to make $49 million. I can't believe that guy did that.
Let's see here. Warren Thomas, of course, died, but he, in the meantime, was a writer, for instance, for one of the weigh-in shows. I think for the first weigh-in show.
He could have been a huge star. He just didn't have the patience.
Well,
I mean, I have to say, and the discipline.
Well, he also had one other problem, and the problem was that he had phlebitis, which is your veins or something in your knee or something, and they had to give him a blood transfusion at San Francisco General, and that was about the time that AIDS started coming to the front. Okay, and he got a bad transfusion and came down with full-blown AIDS. I mean, not full-blown, but AIDS. No, full-blown AIDS. He had the Kaposi's sarcoma and everything. And luckily, the cocktails came along in time to save his life, because he was. I remember he was on the edge of death.
Yeah, right.
And that kind of killed his career for a while.
Yeah.
He had
It was
yeah,
it was tough, and Warren, as you know, a lot of the guys that imbibed, we all imbibed, but then there was a time to go home and party, and there was a time to
yeah,
to sober up,
yeah.
and the party never ended.
The
I
part.
remember staying up. I mean, if you had to hang with Warren, you had to hang out all night, and there was no one who was funnier. I just We would watch TV till 7 o'clock in the morning, and the only way to stay up till 7 in the morning was to do coke. And so we were up, and I was up with him. He was
Yeah.
making me laugh until I couldn't laugh anymore, until I couldn't make any expressions. The only thing I could do is when he said something funny or watching TV, I would just do this. Uh, uh. He'd say something funny, and I go, I had no more energy to even vocalize anything more than that. But even getting that was rewarding to him. But he was still trying to get a laugh, and I just don't think of anyone 24/7 who was funnier than Warren Thomas, like all day and all night.
Towards the end of his life, he was in New York. He was pretty well. The AIDS thing was being handled. Okay, it was in
tough.
remission.
It was tough for him to see other people making it successful, and
Yeah.
and then also to just not get the appreciation of I mean, as Chris Rock says, he's the funniest guy you never heard of.
Exactly, and off the top of his head, the best improvisational comedy I've ever.
Yeah, I mean, the
encountered.
funniest guy hands down to hang out with in a day.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
hands
but
down.
what happened was I hung out with him quite a bit here in New York for a while,
good.
and then all of a sudden I get the news he's dead, and he died, and we've never been able to get a good explanation of what he died of, but I suspect it was some kind of complications from either that or it could have been drugs,
Well,
but this guy was brilliant.
I would tell you in my opinion. I mean, from friends I know who could get clean and then go off it. I mean, like, hey man, I'm just gonna do it for one night. I'll just go another night. I'll just go again.
Yeah.
And it's. I mean, I understand it now as a mature man more. I mean, just look, I want to deaden the pain. I'm gonna go another night. I'm gonna go, and then your body can't take it anymore. I mean, I
Yeah.
will say, Robin Williams. I mean, it was the residual effects of what he did 35 years ago that I think finally comes back. It's like an upside down pyramid. Drugs. It comes. Its effect.
Well, in his case, he had a disease. I'm trying to remember what it is now.
I think he was misdiagnosed. I honestly
really do?
I think he was misdiagnosed, and the drugs, because Dr. Drew Pinsky is a dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
I asked him about those drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, could those combination of the drugs that he was on cause depression? And he said, abso-effing-lutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I do think while well-intentioned, those doctors killed him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they did, and I think the family agrees. And I tweeted that out, and I got 55,000 retweets from all over the world, and that's when Big Pharma attacked me. But you can't go after those. Those are the monsters there, Big Pharma.
How did you attack them? How did they feel they were being attacked?
Because I said the Big Pharma killed them. I said these drugs. When you have America is on. You have America's being constantly fleeced by Big Pharma.
Mm-hmm.
You have literally, if we continue to go the direction that we're going, Alex, 50 cents on every dollar that comes into the gross dollar in America is going to go towards healthcare by 2030. I mean, it's unsustainable.
I'll tell you something. I'll give you a good story about it. You'll love this story. I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So there's this drug, and I took it once. The doctor said, "Here, try this," and I went out, and it cost me $300. And then I said to him, if I need it again, I can't afford the $300. He says, "Oh, I can get you an exception. It'll only be $75."
Wow.
So I was set. I was buying this stuff at $75. When I come down with a bad bout of it, I'd take this stuff, and it would ameliorate the symptoms, right?
Yeah.
I stopped using it for a while because my stomach seemed to be fine. And about a year later, I wanted another prescription for it, and he gave me another prescription. And he didn't get me the exception. He tried to get me the exception, and they wouldn't do it, which would bring the price down. So now I know that the price was $300 about 4 years earlier. I go into the pharmacy and I say, okay, I want to buy some of this. It's got to be somewhere like around $300. She says, well, I will look and see how much it costs. And then I see her write something down, and she says, here's what it costs now. And she hands it over to me, and it was $2,100 for 60 pills. Okay? And I said, that is absurd. You know, I mean, and they went after this guy because he took this AIDS drug, and raised the price, 5 or 10 times or something like that. These people are doing the same thing with irritable bowel syndrome.
They are. The thing about it is, like, if we don't nationalize our medicine like they do in the UK, if we don't nationalize it, we're going to be in trouble. Just like if we don't nationalize Google and these search engines who are now putting a truth, you know, they're actually, you know, no longer going to like what's the most popular thing which would come up. Now they're sinking certain things that they decide. Who gets to decide what the truth is? Who gets to decide? You know, now they have a thing called the Truth Vault. Yeah. If America doesn't get behind these things and handle our health care and
well,
you know,
let me finish the story though about the IBS. So all of a sudden, I just thought I'd try something. I had said something for digestive problems and whatever, and it's a gummy bear thing, and it's a probiotic. And I took it, and it for a year I've been clear of any major IBS symptoms. You know,
I mean, that's the thing. Thank God that you found that, because most problems that you have, the pharmaceuticals are very good. If you get, I mean, hey, I love the American medical system. If you're shot, stabbed, run over by a bus, you better have a massive coronary. You better hope it's in America. Yeah. Because we have trauma care, especially getting shot. God bless these guys. They know how to fix shot, stabbed, baseball bat to the forehead. They know how to save you here. Yeah. Anything else they can't fix. And the pharmaceutical things, it helps the symptoms, but to get to the root cause of it, I mean, if you fix your own bacteria in your gut, you know, mitochondria, once you take antibiotics once, you're never the same again. You can kind of get back to more or less normal, but never 100%. So that gut bacteria is a real problem. And the problem is a lot of kids have this issue, and it causes, when we have childhood obesities I tell people this, and it's a shocking statistic, Alex. 54.1% of all children, 54, over half, have at least one chronic illness. Wow. That's outrageous.
Well, but do you include in that, like when I was a kid, I had allergies? You don't include allergies in that, do you?
If you have chronic allergies where you have to be constantly medicated, I would include that, sure.
No, what my parents did is they took me into a doctor, and he gave me what they call a Schick test, in which they do your arm with all kinds of stuff, and then they see which one blows up real good. Yeah. And they found out that pet hair and pollen were my two biggest triggers. So they moved to the country and bought me a cat. And within I was the kid in the class you could hear coming a mile away because you could hear the wheeze, and that happened for about 6 to 8 months during the first summer we were there, and all of a sudden all these allergies cleared up, because what they did by exposing me to my allergy problems was I was
allergic to everything when I was a little kid, and my mom just slowly introduced stuff until I got better.
Yeah. I think perhaps we get too nice with our kids. We were too protective of them, and we have to give him a pill and take care of this. No, let him wheeze his way through an allergy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think temporary stuff is good medicine, but like we have to protect our kids and get them off drugs. We have there's 20 million kids are on some form of drug in America. Really? And it ain't getting them better.
But now let's say your kid does get really sick and needs an antibiotic. I mean, you wouldn't.
It's a miracle drug. Yeah. If they need to save your life, it's a miracle drug. Yeah. But if you get like a little infection, in your lung or something, if it isn't that desperate, then let them fight it through, because it's just too much of a shock to the system to give them antibiotics. I was given antibiotics for everything when I was a kid, and I didn't need it all those times. We didn't know any better. Yeah. You go to the doctor, that you want something. I think they're well intentioned, but you can't just give antibiotics every time you need something.
Oh, they used to think when I was a kid, they used to think certain things worked that really didn't. I luckily I don't have thyroid cancer, but I had a sinus problem, and so they took me. I think it was to Kaiser, and they radiated my sinuses. Right, because they thought that was a way of clearing things up. Well, luckily they didn't go for my thyroid, because most people who were radiated in their thyroid got thyroid cancer.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the American Medical Association. That's what, like, psychiatrists, they say if they could wear white coats, if they thought they could get away with it, they would do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not really, they're not real doctors.
Yeah.
Like all those drugs. I mean, some of them, I think some of the antidepressants have been a miracle drug for people to get them, to help get them and do their daily stuff. But however, these are the same people that recommended, electric shock therapy for people. I mean, like, whoa. So we have to be really careful about what they decide in their diagnostics, what's a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think, for little kids, they're not all going to be the same, and so some will have some learning disabilities, and to drug them up is a mistake.
Well, I'm at the age now where doctors look upon me as an annuity. And here's the thing I get from doctors now. Remember, I used to be, well, okay, come back next year and let's take a look and see if this thing is any better, any worse, or whatever. And now they go, come back and see me in 6 months, because they need the money.
I know. I remember my dad. My dad was friends with a doctor, Alex, and he said my dad was friends with this guy. He was over the house, and they were having drinks and smoking at the time, because people used to smoke.
Yeah.
My dad smoked a pipe because of Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, "Oh, I can't wait for the cold and flu season." My dad said, "What?" "Yeah, God, I need to make some money." That's money.
Well, it's not easy for doctors today. I mean, insurance companies are giving them a horrible time. And a lot of doctors are having to go to work for HMOs because they can't afford to have their own practice anymore. So I do feel sorry for the doctors, but come back and see me in 6 months. I went to a urologist, and my PSA went up a bit over a year, like a point or something, and he said, "Well, I have to take a test in October." He says, "Take the test in October and then come see me in 6 months, and we'll see if there's anything to worry about there." And he happens to be a good doctor, but he could have said, let's wait a year and see what it's like then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm all for waiting a little bit too.
Yeah.
And the main thing is Americans have to get healthy on themselves, like what you did.
Yeah.
The probiotic is an answer for a lot of things.
After paying for this drug, after going through everything I had to do to somehow get one supply of it granted to me by the pharmaceutical company. Yeah. It turned out that it was, a $20 bottle of probiotics every month that cleared up my problem.
I know. That's the thing that people need to also address. And just, if I would just tell people, for all your listeners out there, try to get a list on your refrigerator, alkaline foods, acidic foods, and try to go 80-20 as best you can. If you do 80-20, you age your organs.
Now, you're really a nut about this, aren't you?
Yeah, I've become, I've become educated myself. I mean, sometimes I just had a ham and egg sandwich right now.
Yeah.
But I said, I know later today I'm going to have to just do steamed vegetables and have some hot water and lemon. I had a huge cup of dark coffee because we're going over the final list of bills for the TV show with my accountants, my producers in the other room.
Yeah.
And they're all waiting for me. But I said, hey, I got to talk to Alex right now.
Yeah.
And so, but you just what you want to do is you want to age slowly and be healthy and enjoy things. You don't have to have this. Is a particular thing, the American culture has dementia. Where I flew to India.
Yeah.
They don't have dementia in India. They got a lot of other messed up problems that are just as bad in other ways. Yeah. Bacterial infections, dirty water, and like other problems and diseases that are eradicated here, but they don't have dementia. And so what is the difference?
Well, I'll tell you what the difference is. Here's what I think.
Okay.
Every country has its disease. Every country has its lack of a disease. I was talking to you remember a doctor, what's his name, the guy, the weight loss guy. I used his diet, the low carbohydrate diet. Dr. Atkins. I used to have him on my show here in New York, And I said to him one day, I said, I was in Europe and in Spain, all the people over there are so thin. And here you come back, you get off the plane, it looks like cows grazing. I said, what is the problem? And he said, it has something, he felt it had something to do with the soil that the food was grown in. Why certain races are thinner than others.
I will tell you, I'm just from my years and years of experience.
Yeah.
It's a combination of things. One, we're carbohydrate addicted here in America. Two, you're 100% right. The nutritional, the soil is depleted. A carrot today has half the same nutrition as a carrot 40 years ago, even an organic carrot. And three, our mitochondria is messed up, whether from taking antibiotics or also eating foods or eating animals that have been taking antibiotics, or also been eating this thing called glyphosate, which is sprayed on the wheat. So when people say, people didn't used to have a problem with gluten until 1997, because they spray the machines and they spray the wheat with this supposed antifungal called anti-mold thing. Is glyphosate. Glyphosate makes bugs explode, and it's just stuff around. So if it makes bugs explode, we're not that.
What's it going to do to us? Exactly.
Yeah, So I mean, now it's it is the DDT of our day. The difference is back when the DDT was around, the chemical companies did not own every state house. I mean, they're really smart, these evil chemical companies and the evil pharma. They literally donate to every state assemblyman, every state senator, every national senator, every national congressman.
But you know something? I got to tell you something, Rob. I think that in the beginning, years ago, I think the tobacco companies were innocent. I think the chemical companies were innocent. And here's why I'm going to say that. Is because they simply put this stuff on the market and went, oh, good, this DDT, it kills these things, right? This is good for us. And then, after a while, they started seeing the evidence of how it was affecting human beings, and then they weren't willing to admit that maybe we should take it off the market.
Right. That's right.
And the same thing was with cigarettes.
It's their profits, and they're not going to do it. But when you test your own product, as opposed to what the FDA should do, which the FDA should be an independent thing, where actually the FDA is completely funded by Big Pharma. I mean, completely funded. Just when you submit to do a new drug at the FDA, not to bore your listeners to tears, it's $50,000 as part of the submission process. So that is a de facto funding of the FDA. So the FDA is completely funded, and then there's a revolving door between people who work at the FDA and Big Pharma going in the FDA. And it's the same thing with the CDC. And so the Center for Disease Control, it's the same crap. And it's like, we no longer have a government that's protecting the people. They're protecting big business. And like, while I don't think it's 100% evil, I do think what happens is you have an abuse in the system, because the system is there to be abused. And so whenever you don't have any firewalls anymore. So, I mean, that's why people vote for guys like Donald Trump, because they go, hey, let's change something. I'm willing to burn the house down, and let's make another house.
Yeah. Now, let me just, we have a little time left here. Let me just ask you, you a lot of times have come out with your political opinion places. Yeah. And that has gotten you into a lot of trouble. Sometimes I didn't even agree with you. I said, what's wrong with Rob? I like the, not the controversy, but I like to take the other issue. Yeah. I mean, it's so easy to make fun of Donald Trump. You can watch it 5 days a week. I want to make fun of the people making fun of Donald Trump. Yeah. Because that's more, it's tougher. It's more, but I like the opposite. Well, I have to admit that Trump is like shooting fish in a barrel.
It is. I like making fun of Hillary, because, or Trump supporter. I mean, people who hate Trump.
How about a Bernie Sanders supporter is a good fodder for comedy.
Exactly. I mean, what was he going to be president for 6 months? What was the plan?
And mind you, we're not sitting here saying Trump is wonderful or anything like that. What we're saying is that the opposition also has its faults, and we don't.
Here's what I tell people on my live shows, Alex, and you should come to one of them one day. I tell people, you think Syria cares more about Obama, more Obama? You think than Trump? You think people in Syria are saying we miss the days where we were being bombed by a tolerant and well-spoken president. Come on, let's get real. That's why, and look, it's fun to make fun of Hillary because she takes no personal responsibility for anything. I really can't stand her or her husband.
I didn't like her, and Bill was getting to me after a while because there was a kind of a sense of, I can seduce anybody. I'm not talking about sexually. I'm talking about his seductive quality, and I got a little tired of that seductive quality. There were a lot of other people I wish had run for president. I wish Biden had run for president. I would have voted for him in a heartbeat.
I'm from San Francisco. I'm the most liberal guy ever. You and me the same. I was for equality and race and gay rights and everything. I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, these are our friends and family, brothers and sisters and parents.
Right.
So I'm all for that. But at the same time, I got to say, when Hillary Clinton says, hey, if half, you can't say half American population voted for Trump because they're racist. You can't say half, maybe a third. You can say a third. You can't say half.
Yeah.
And I said, Hillary Clinton had the audacity to say last week, hey, if the election was held October 27th, I'd be your president. I said, yeah, well, if the Super Bowl ended in the third quarter, Atlanta'd be the champion. If I was the same size I was when I was a baby, my dick would look huge. Where does it end, Alex? So in a way, that's more of an interesting place to go. I just played Boston, the Wilbur Theater, in front of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
The most liberal place you've ever met. And I was talking about the Nazi rally where they shut down the Nazis. I said there were 42 people who were Nazis there. And they had the decency to call themselves Nazis. They weren't saying they weren't trying to be something they weren't. They're Nazis. Don't shut them down. Talk to them. Listen to them. And that was great to hear the mayor of Boston say, we don't have racism in Boston. Yes, you have racism in Boston. It's Boston.
Yeah.
So, not this part of Boston. You got to go 4 blocks over here to have racism.
Well, I know you have money things to deal with there at the Snyder Manse, as it were.
Yes.
But before you go, let's let everybody know that tomorrow, which is Friday, what's the date? The 29th, I guess, tomorrow?
Tonight at midnight.
Tonight at midnight. You can turn on Netflix and you can see, how many episodes are there? There are 8. I saw 8. Yeah.
It's 8 half-hour movies.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's fun.
Thank you very much.
We love the first batch, and we haven't finished the second batch yet, but it lives up to the first batch.
Thank you. And
your wife is amazing on that show.
Oh, thank you.
Just amazing. And but the downs part of it is you're terrible. So
I know. I usually have to put up with that part. If you can get through that, you get to my wife. You'll be happy.
Kid even reads her lines better.
I know, she's beautiful. I love it. It's just an excuse to get my family in there.
Yeah, it's a home movie is what it is.
Yeah, it's been fun, but we spent 9 months writing it, and I'm really proud of the shows. The last episode, you have to see Ennio Morricone does the score. It's unbelievable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I got a 95.
How'd you get Ennio Morricone to write?
I called him.
You called him.
I called him. His son speaks a little bit of English. He speaks no English. Absolutely none.
Ennio Morricone, in case people don't know, Good and the Bad and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in America, Bugsy. I could go on and on. Probably the greatest. Hateful Eight, which he won the Academy Award for.
Yeah. And he's just the greatest composer. He's just right from the heart. And so you hear the last 10 minutes of this thing, and you realize why I, spent so much money on it, and it was so worth it. Because the last 10 minutes is all his beautiful music.
Well, so, it's a fun show. And the one question I guess I've always wanted to ask somebody who's in the position you're in, you play a real asshole.
Yes.
And it's called Real Rob. And yet I don't know Real Rob as that kind of asshole. All right?
But isn't it more fun?
Is it the comedian in you that says, I don't care how people perceive it, what people perceive of me, this is a good character?
That's I get offered questions. I get asked questions a lot. That's the best question I've been asked in years. The truth of it is, I mean, it's so egocentric to make myself look good. I think it's way funnier. I mean, the best compliment I've ever gotten in this business was the real genius of Saturday Night Live is this guy named Jim Downey, and he said he was the writer. He wrote Jane, You Ignorant Slut. He's the guy been there for years and years, and he still does all the political stuff there, all the best stuff that you liked.
Yeah.
He writes, and he said to me, Rob Schneider never wasted time trying to look cool. I never cared how I looked.
Yes.
I wanted to be funny.
Yeah.
And it's just funnier playing an a-hole. I mean, my favorite guys, the best sitcoms ever were just terrible people. Despicable, terrible people. And that's when I wanted to do an updated
Fawlty Towers. Fawlty Towers, a perfect example of that.
It's Fawlty Towers, being the biggest asshole you can be, cheating, lying, and stealing if you can. And it's a reverse I Love Lucy. My wife is Lucy, and my wife is Ricky Ricardo, and I'm Lucy. And I'm the biggest prick, Basil Fawlty, Lucy you've ever found. And that's fun for me. And if you get
Yeah.
to the end, you'll really see
Yeah.
it comes to a great place.
Well, it's terrific, and I'm so happy for you. And I was talking to Bubs the other day. He said he went into like Whole Foods with you, and you were mobbed.
Yeah,
And he said, I didn't, I know he's done a lot, but I didn't think he'd be mobbed. And I said, well, I mean, he's very recognizable, but
I'm the same size I am on TV as I am in person.
the thing that bothered me most, and I got to tell you this because I'm protective of you, because I like you, okay,
I love you.
is the only time I ever hate Family Guy is when they kid you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Because I thought it was a kind of a cheap shot.
Yeah,
That
because
happens.
I felt the same way, and because you're my friend, I was very protective, and I said, I don't like that.
Oh,
Fuck
thank
Seth
you.
MacFarlane. Orville sucks.
I'll tell you, the thing about it is, like, if you're lucky enough to get into a position, and I've been around long enough now, whereas you know what Ann Beats of Saturday Night Live said, you can only be avant-garde so long, and then you become guard. And we've become guard, Alex.
Yeah.
And you have to just kind of accept it, and just hope that if you're lucky enough to still do what you love and make funny stuff while you can, it's a window. I mean, Faulty Towers is 13 episodes. I don't know how many. I've already done 16 of these. I don't know how many I'll do. But if I never work again, I feel blessed, and I've been very lucky. And what I want to do now in my life is introduce my wife to people, because I think she's wonderfully talented, and thank you for your kind words about her. I just want to do what I love and spend time and talk to people like you that I love and admire for years. You were a supporter to all of us back in the day. And I was talking to Dana Carvey about you. I was talking to Larry Bubbles Brown, and it said, hey, man, Alex is still out there. We love him, and it's like he made a difference in our careers when we needed you.
Yeah. Well, you'll all be invited to the funeral.
That's many years away, buddy, but hey, I love you, and I'll always be there for you, man, anytime.
Hey, can we do this?
You were a supporter from way back, and I got to tell you, man, that meant the world to us. It really did.
Yeah.
From Bobcat to, Robin Williams and all the guys who you had on, and all the guys, and a lot of them are gone now, man, but we'll never forget it. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, but I hope we can do this again soon, because this has been really good, because you're one of the better people to talk to, because you've got a lot of depth. You'll talk politics, you talk about a whole bunch of things, and I really would like to do it. Maybe another month or something. I'll give you
absolutely. Well, why don't you watch the rest of the episodes?
I'll watch the rest of them. Yeah,
because I'm so proud of, especially the last episode's 37 minutes. They're all half-hour movies.
Yeah.
But the last one is remarkable. I mean, I just was really proud of it.
Well, we're about halfway through them now.
Okay.
I just got them last week, and my wife had to watch all her little things, her Netflix binges. And I said, well, here's a good Netflix binge. Hey, Rob, thank you for being with us.
Anytime, Alex. Let's talk soon, okay? After you're done with these, we'll talk next week. Come on.
Okay. Well, I will. I'll stick around after this, and we'll talk. Anyway, let's bring this to an end, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Schneider. His show starts on Netflix at midnight tonight. Yay!
You can do it.
5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Okay, all righty. Let me see here. Okay, there we go. All right, that was an interview we did about a year and a half ago with Rob Schneider, maybe a year ago. I don't know, because we were talking about some things, and I went, gee, I wasn't talking to I was surprised. Okay, but anyway, so that was it. Okay, it's time for me to go to the phones here, or to the Skype phones. It's an old way of putting it. And our number, if you don't know how to get a hold of us, just go over to gabnet.net. Okay, gabnet.net is the place to go. When you go over there, you'll see the program, so you don't have to miss a minute of it in video. And then it gives you a phone number if you don't want to use Skype, or it tells you how to get Skype. And if you have Skype, it also has a button you can push that will automatically dial us, okay? Okay, the first guy up, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't even have to punch him in because he gets his little number one spot there.
Yeah, but
is
you
Phil
want to
Meyer.
punch me out. That's
What?
You'll punch me out,
Yeah.
but you won't punch me in.
I won't punch you in. I'll just punch you out. Hello there, Phil. How are you this evening?
All right. Cool down a little bit here, but it's
Yeah.
still hot as hell.
Charlie Wallace is calling, and he will pop in probably in that second spot, if I remember correctly, from last night. There we go. There we go. We got him in the second spot.
All right.
Now let's see who's going to call in the third spot, because I don't. Who was in it last night?
Josh?
Actually, I can tell you. It was Josh Wheeler. Yeah. So we can fill that one up. So anyway, I just felt like rerunning the Schneider interview because it's 37 minutes. I'm feeling a little marginally better right now. Oh, here comes Josh. He's taking up. Everybody's taking up their same. I'm not going. I've got to call it. Nobody else can take my space. Here we go. There he is. Okay, everybody's in place now. Hello, Josh.
Hello.
You're back in the number 3 spot.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. That's true.
But you'll always be number 1 with me.
Yeah.
Well, that's good too.
So anyways,
Count on you for those RBIs.
yeah. So anyways, I was feeling a little tired today, and I figured I would run that. I didn't want to talk for a half hour, so. But I'm feeling a little tired, but not like last night. I'm feeling a little better today. So.
Yeah. Well, I got a gift for you.
Yeah.
It's a No Fill Friday.
Do you think we care?
Yeah. It's
I mean,
a gift.
you act like it's important that it's going to be a fill-free Friday.
Yeah. Well,
When,
I do
quite
that.
frankly, there are people out there watching this program now who are putting it on their calendar with
Exactly. That's why I mentioned it.
and with a heart. Okay.
That's why I mention it, so that out of deference to other callers that are afraid to talk to a Republican, I let them know that it's free to be a snowflake, and you can call in on Friday.
We're not afraid to talk. They're not afraid to talk to a Republican. We have.
They just don't want to hear.
Wait a
anything.
minute. We have a Patrick on the show. He is a very reasonable Republican. As opposed to
Reasonable
you,
Republican.
as opposed to you, we love him.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, you just ran an interview of a guy that feels almost exactly like I do about
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't. He not exactly. He said that his whole take on Donald Trump was that he didn't want to make jokes about him because it's too easy.
Well,
Now,
that's true.
I don't know if that's a put down or that's a positive. There's Jeff Stein, ladies and gentlemen, who's joined us, and now Charlene Martinez is trying to join us. So, Charlene, let's see here. Let me go to the. I've got to go to this thing, and then I got to go to number 4. And number 5 rather, and you are in the number 5 spot. There we go. Okay, is she going to come up? There she is. There's Charlene Martinez. Wearing her glasses tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
might
Did you
add.
steal that from my grandma?
I don't know. Hi, Jeff. How are you? We haven't seen you in a couple of nights.
I know. I've been traveling around a little bit.
Where are you now? Are you back home?
I'm at home right now. I was in Massachusetts
Yeah.
today, and yesterday I was in New York. So
Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, so I'm feeling a little bit better today. Still tired. I think this has a lot to do with pollen because I've been having a little trouble breathing today. And it's not a terrible pollen day, but I think it may be just a certain kind of pollen that gets to me. But anyway, I slept 9 hours last night, and I've been tired all day. How do you like that one?
You overslept.
I think I overslept. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I should undersleep. Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. You know, because
Possibility.
if I undersleep and then I feel tired, I know I've got a reason. You know. So
Yeah.
that's the.
So-
I feel like Alice from the Brady Bunch now.
You feel like
I'm
who?
in the middle.
You feel like who? Alice.
She's in the
Alice
middle.
from the Brady Bunch. She was always in the middle. Yeah.
She was always in the middle. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, it's when we get to the next panel and there's 8 spaces there that we get the Brady Bunch thing.
Yeah.
If we didn't have Josh there, it could be the Beatles album cover right now. You know. So there are a lot of things we remember. Anyway. No, you were talking. You know, I mean, I like you too, Phil, and I like Rob. He's always been a decent guy, you know.
Most of us are.
No, not most of you are. Trump's a fuck. He's a real fuck. I got to tell you, he's a piece of shit fuck. He never had a reputation of being a nice guy in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a prick. Now, maybe you think
that's true, like most New Yorkers.
Maybe you think that's a good quality for a president, but I don't. Okay?
I think you can't survive in New York unless you're a prick.
Oh,
You can't even park. You can't park your car unless you're a prick. You can't do anything. You can't get a taxi cab unless you're a prick.
Let me name some New Yorkers who aren't pricks, okay? I don't think Bloomberg's a prick.
No, but he's a billionaire. He can afford not to be a prick.
Yeah, well, of course, Trump has to be a prick because he's not a billionaire, okay?
Well, he got it, he earned it privately. You know, Bloomberg...
he didn't earn it privately. He got it from his fucking father.
Yeah, he got $1 million from his father.
No, he got more than that.
He got more than that.
He got much more than that, according to the information that's been able to be delved into about where he got his initial $1,000 investment from his father, and then his father kept putting in more and more money. Although his father didn't like him investing in New York City, in Manhattan. He felt, Daddy Trump's purview was Queens, and he felt that was a better place to spend your money.
I thought it was Brooklyn. But
maybe it was Brooklyn. I don't know. Anywhere there were,
well, that's where you live.
Anywhere there were poor people he could take advantage of. That was not a nice family. Those are some real pricks. Those people. I mean, his father was supposed to be a real piece of work.
Yeah.
And to show you how much he loved Donald, he sent him off to a military school to get rid of him.
Yeah. So it's his father's fault.
So
he's a victim. He's a victim.
Wait a minute.
You're blaming the son.
It's his father's fault that what, Phil?
That he's a prick.
Oh, okay. So you admit he's a prick.
Yeah, we're all pricks.
No, I'm not a prick.
Except Charlene.
I'm not a prick. Charlene isn't a prick. Charlie's a really nice guy.
You're not a prick?
Josh, I'll include Josh. Jeff, I know personally, is not a prick. And Josh has always seemed a stand-up guy to me. You're the only one in this group that seems to be a prick.
Oh, okay. Your reputation preceded you. There's a few people.
Well, there was a character I played on the radio.
No. With some other ones.
What?
Oh, you want me to tell you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I don't know, and it might be interesting. I was always going to save this for a private conversation, but it would be interesting to know what ended up going on between you, John Means, and Marty Cohen.
No, nothing.
No,
nothing.
Why do these guys have a hard on for you?
I don't think John Means has one in this day and age, because I've talked to people who talked to him recently, and he says hi.
I asked him to come on to the show, and he wouldn't do it.
Why are you inviting people onto my show?
Because you don't have that many callers, and I thought you'd enjoy it.
Well, I mean, John Means, who called himself Dr. Gonzo, was a comedian way back when. He was actually the first comedian I ever had on my radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
almost all his publicity photos are mine.
Yeah,
and I'm shooting them again in September.
Yeah, and I always liked John. I don't know if he was saying something nasty about me. I don't know what it could have possibly been.
He didn't say anything nasty. He just said, "Hey, we didn't leave on good terms."
We didn't leave on bad terms. I don't remember that.
Oh, all right.
And so far as Marty Cohen is concerned, the only problem I had with Marty Cohn was he was a comedian who got
He got a radio show.
He got a lot of notoriety from my show,
Yeah.
and then he went out and got his own radio show opposite me, at which he failed miserably.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
I told him, I said, you're very competitive. And I said, and I'm sure you didn't mean anything by it.
No, I felt that was some sort of a betrayal. Because
Yeah.
he wasn't a radio guy. That was the big mistake that radio station made.
Well, he's not a comedian anymore.
And he was an okay comedian. He wasn't a great comedian, but he was an okay comedian. But I used to have him on all the time because I liked Marty. And all of a sudden, one day, he does this thing about doing a show opposite mine in the morning over at K-Fog, and I felt that was a kind of betrayal.
Yeah, but I mean,
because he would have never gotten that job if I hadn't had him on my show.
That's true, but that's the way life works, and you hope that everybody is going to get a piece of the
look.
action.
There are going to be people who think I'm a prick just simply because I didn't have him on the radio show.
Yeah,
or I had him on once and I didn't ask them back.
Yeah.
These two guys are two guys who should have been glad that they did my radio show on any number of occasions.
They were. I don't know what happened. John wouldn't tell me.
Well, I have no idea, because he just simply disappeared. I think he went to the Midwest somewhere, and we never heard from him again.
He became an English professor
Mm-hmm.
at a community college.
Yeah.
And then he bought a restaurant and turned it into a comedy club in Des Moines.
Yeah. I had a comedy club I turned into a restaurant. It was the opposite thing. But no, and people don't know really who we're talking about because these are two comedians who really didn't make the big cut. Okay?
Yeah, no. Although John used to open for, who was it, Huey Lewis and the News, and...
yeah, but that, how long ago was that?
Oh, it was ancient.
Yeah, Huey is fun.
Yeah.
I used to give him a bad time about things.
Yeah.
And I used to call it, say, well, the thing people don't realize is that's one of the best hair pieces in the business.
Really? I didn't know
Now,
that.
of course it wasn't a hair piece. Of course, that was Huey Lewis's real hair, but I kept saying, what a hair piece. Boy, is that a great hair piece. I kept doing that on the air. I used to call him Huey Lewis and the hair piece, things like that.
That is a funny bit.
So one night I'm at a restaurant in Marin County.
Yeah.
And across the room is Huey. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I notice he's sitting over there, and he looks at me, and he goes and grabs the top of his hair and starts pulling on it.
That is funny.
Yeah. He had a good sense of humor. Yeah. I kidded people. I gave people a bad time, but and especially if all of a sudden you decide you're going to be my competitor,
Yeah.
I'm going to start. If people,
Well,
I
I
never
think
would
that
go
you
out of my
say-
way to bring him up, Marty Cohn
Well,
up, but I would, if people
yeah.
mentioned him, I would then,
Well, I guess you had that run-in with Jack Swanson at KGO, and it was...
Well, tell
I
the
think it
story.
was all in
Tell
probably good fun.
tell the story, because
Okay.
I was looking to get a job a couple of years back, and Jack Swanson took over at where did he take over? I can't remember.
He was KGO for years, and then they fired him, and then he came back.
For about a week and a half, right? Yeah. And so I figured I'd just write him a note and say, hey, Jack, I'm available. Remember me, we were competitors, whatever. He writes me back and he says, I will never forgive you for the time that you sent somebody over to my radio station, which was K-Fog, I think, at the time.
Was it K-Fog?
Yeah. And
and that's where Marty was.
And you had this guy who was your stunt guy, did something, I can't remember what he supposedly did, and I will never forgive you for that. And I wrote him a letter back saying, hey, you know, it was, I don't know exactly, I can't remember the incident. I said, but whatever he did, let me in retrospect apologize, not because you're running a radio station, I don't expect to get a job after that, but just because it was all in the spirit of competition. And I meant no harm towards you or towards the people you worked with. And he wrote me back a very nice note and said all is forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw him post a voodoo doll of you.
Yeah, probably
on
his Facebook
site.
But you know, I mean, and I you know, in the high, in when you're competing, you just do things. You're in la la land. You're in crazy land. You know, and you do things. I mean, do I hold it against Howard because for the past almost 30 years he said I stole his act from him, my act from him, when it wasn't even possible?
Yeah.
You know, we know who stole from who. But, you know, I understand why Howard does that. It's part of the act, you know. But I minded it only because it denied my creativity, you know, to say that I stole from him.
Sure.
You know, which
it diminishes your actual work.
So I was a little mad at that, but I understood it. You know, I understood the, you know, if he said it in competition. Now I finally met up with Howard because he got mad at me one day on his radio show, and I was in another studio because I had said something about one of his guys. Remember what was his name? The guy.
The guy said something about Wiener.
Wiener. Well, he went out to Wiener's press conference where Wiener was just saying, I apologize, you know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this, it's horrible. And he did some Baba Booey thing to Wiener at that thing. And I kind of got on his case and said, you know, this really isn't right. I said, God knows this guy, you know, his life is over. You know, he chances are he doesn't have a marriage any longer, you know. Whatever has happened to this guy, whatever prank is being pulled on him, he pulled on himself, you know. And I said, at that point, we kind of leave these people alone. And I thought it was just in bad taste. Well, Howard then lays into me, how dare you say it's in bad taste? He did a wonderful job, blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing I know, his producer, Fa Fooey or whatever the name is, Baba Booey, walks into my studio and says, Howard would like you to come down and be on his show. And I said, if Howard wants to talk to me, he has to come here. So the next thing I know, all his TV cameras, because he's got a TV studio, and everybody is coming down and following him down the hall into my studio. And I figure, oh, fuck, what do I do now? And he walks in, and he's standing there in the doorway, and I stand up and I go, hi, Howard, always wanted to meet you. And I put out my hand and I shake his hand. And he was putty in my hands after that.
I saw a video.
Yeah.
I saw a video that he made, and I don't watch him at all, but I happen to have seen it.
Yeah, it's online.
He said, I went up there to do battle, and he was such a nice guy.
I disarmed him completely. And we had a very nice discussion, and I explained why I felt the way I did, and he explained all very civil. And then Howard went crawling back to his studio, and then, of course, made that admission that when his newswoman, what's her name? Robin Givens. Is Givens, is it? Robin?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, isn't Robin, Robin Givens is the actress who married Mike Tyson. Robin.
No, but this one is Robin also something.
Yeah, it's Robin something. Anyway, Robin said to him, you were so nice to him. He says, well, I walked in, he said, nice to meet you, Howard. And he said, I couldn't go after him. He was just too nice.
Yeah.
And I had done what I had to do, I completely disarmed him.
Yeah.
But, I have my issues with him, but fuck it. It is what it is, He's become tremendously successful, and I'm punching out this little piece of shit here every night, you know.
Well, can you get him to pay royalties for the acts that he's stolen from you?
Well, no, he stole, what he stole was somewhat my attitude and what I would do. I mean,
Right.
I would always tell stories about myself
Right.
because I find myself one of the most interesting people in the world. And would you mind not moving the camera like crazy, Charlene? It's
Sorry.
driving us nuts. First your landscape and then your portrait. Make your mind up. Anyway,
What did that guy have last night? The guy with the crazy round glasses? He had a stand or something?
he was trying to get it to stand, yeah, but it never went sideways. Anyway, where was
He
I?
used tape.
So I mean, you know, Howard. I never had heard Howard, and people kept saying, "Have you listened to Howard? He stole from you," and everybody kept saying this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then they started running him out of San Jose. And I figured, you know, I didn't want to listen because I was afraid it was going to bother me. And I listened to him, and as I listened to him, I went, my God, he had to have listened to me when he was growing up. You know, he had to have been influenced by what I do because he's doing what I do. And at that point, I realized that, you know, I couldn't fight it. Yes, Charlene.
All right. Since you brought Howard up, I didn't. I happened to, hear him one day there, and he was talking about the, end of PLJ.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he used to listen to PLJ when he was growing up, and he wanted to work on PLJ and all this stuff. So I know that you always say that, and I said, I bet Alex is right because he probably listened to you at night on PLJ. Because I think the years that he was talking about, it would have been the years that you were on PLJ.
Well, it would have to be.
Because, he was in New York or he lived in Long Island.
Yeah, because if it were a little bit later, even a matter of 3 or 4 years after I started there, he would be too old to refer to that. He'd already, I think, probably have gotten into radio or something like that. So, but anyway,
talking about some people.
The only thing I
Bob
don't.
Grant, he gave Bob Grant props, but not until he passed away.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I guess I have to. Yeah, if I die, which could be any minute now. I'm not lightheaded. I'm not lightheaded tonight.
Say it so you can hear it.
I'm not lightheaded tonight, though. But what the hell? Anyway,
Give it time.
Give it time.
Alex, one more thing.
No, but what I was going to say is that he admitted to somebody I know privately that he was influenced by me.
How could he not be?
Yeah.
Every kid, look, I grew up in that 68 to 72. That's when I was in high school. And between WMCA and WPLJ, every kid who listened to radio was influenced by you.
Yeah.
When I got my first gig at WRCC, Rockland Community College Radio, one of the things that got me the gig was the fact that I picked you up at WPLJ one morning, took you home and had breakfast with you. And when I told them that I did that, I got the morning spot. Also, nobody else wanted it.
Well, that's unfortunately.
And Lenny Bronstein vouched for me.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's not the way I got jobs because morning on regular radio was the choice spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not when you're broadcasting through a PA system to a empty.
Oh, when I was, I'll be with you in a second, Charlene. When I was at San Francisco City College, we used to do broadcasting, and it went over the PA system in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Right. That was our. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing.
Big time radio. Yes, Charlene.
No, when Howard Stern came on and I heard about him, like I forget when he came on or whatever in New York, I had to listen to him. And then I started listening to him, and I always wondered, Alex, why did I want to listen to him? And then when you started saying that he stole your act and everything, I said, that's why, because I always loved you when I was a real young kid on
Yeah.
PLJ that I listened to you at night. And I said, that's why I was able to want to
Here,
listen to him
here's the
because he
problem.
stole
Yeah.
your act.
Here's the problem with saying that somebody stole your act. Okay.
But he did, though. You're
There
right.
are a lot of there a couple of comedians I know who Robin Williams would routinely steal from. Okay.
Well, he used to pay some guys. He used to pay
No,
Monty.
no, he would, when he was finally called on it, he would pay. Okay. There were some people who had to actually
Kramer.
Kramer he liked. Jeremy Kramer, who's another comedian, folks. I mean, we're not. Unfortunately, we're not talking about people. You know, a lot of people know. I mean, Jeremy Kramer is one of the funniest guys alive, and probably should have been one of the biggest stars alive, comedy stars alive. But
he was writing for Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he had some spots
no,
on
he
there,
wasn't
too.
running. He wasn't writing. No, he wasn't writing for Curb.
He wasn't writing. Didn't he write the Bagel one?
No, no. If you ever look at that show, it doesn't have written by listed on there.
Oh, maybe he was just one of the. No.
All those shows are ad libbed, and they're ad libbed with a kind of a plot
General
line
idea, yeah.
that Larry David, creates. Okay. Anyway,
Well, he was in the one that
he was in one
borrowed
episode, but he
$5,000.
didn't write it.
No.
No. But anyway, what are we arguing about? We're arguing about people out there don't even know who we're talking about, you know. But Jeremy is one of those guys who should have made it. But there were guys like Larry Bubbles Brown, for instance, or Stephen Pearl is another one. Warren Thomas is yet another one. I knew comics who said that whenever Robin walked into a club, they would immediately get off stage so he wouldn't steal their material. Other people who said that when they heard Robin laugh in the back of the room, they knew that that was going to be on the Tonight Show on Monday. You know? The problem with people either insinuating that you stole from them or using and lifting somebody else's material and not giving them credit for it is terrible, because especially to these comics who were starting out, they would get up on stage, they would do a piece of material that Robin had stolen from them, did on the Tonight Show, but they figured, hey, it's my joke, I'm not going to give it up. And then they would go on stage and do it, and somebody would yell out, oh, you stole that from Robin Williams. Because whoever is the biggest dog in the bunch, who then says, he stole from me, or whatever. So for years, you know, I had a problem with a lot of America who didn't know me, because especially in the days when I was in radio, you were on a market-by-market basis. You weren't on nationally. And so I was in San Francisco, and that was a big fucking deal. But here comes, you know, Howard Stern. And quite frankly, he doesn't know how to go after me in San Francisco and he couldn't. I still got bigger ratings than he did. In fact, CBS had to buy out my contract in order to move Howard Stern onto my station. That's how much Howard wanted me out of the way. You know. So.
Can you imagine if you ended up getting syndicated when they wanted to do that?
Well,
at that station in D.C.
Well, I was offered a job. The guy who made Howard a big hit was what's his name? Mel Karmazin. Mel Karmazin, who went to the wall for Howard. He, you know, he's the guy who told the FCC, "Fuck you, I'll pay the fine." Okay, you know, you're not going to tell my station what we're going to say and what we can't say. And Mel then, when I was in San Francisco and on the air, and they were bringing Howard in, they brought him into San Jose. Immediately, to get me out of the way, they offered me a big job in Washington, D.C., and offered me syndication. And we flew to, my business manager and I flew to Washington, D.C., or it wasn't Washington, it was right outside of Washington. WJFK, if people in that part of the world probably know those call letters. And we went down there. We had dinner, lunch with them. Not with Mel, but with the guy who was running the station. They told me that they would bring me in. They would offer me X number of dollars, and they were offering me about the same amount of money I was making in San Francisco. But they, on top of that, they sweetened the pie by saying, we'll syndicate you, like we do with Howard. And so I went, cool, that'd be great. But then I got a guilty complex because it would have meant I would have had to gotten out of my contract in San Francisco. And Mel wouldn't even offer me the job till I quit in San Francisco because he didn't want it to, he didn't want to get sued for stealing somebody from somebody else. It was I found out later on because I got to know him when I went to Sirius XM that Mel Karmazin was one of the most principled guys in the business. But I had always heard he was he was an Alex Bennett. He was a prick. Anyway, so I didn't take the job. And that's maybe one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my career.
I got a picture of the guy that took the job. You want to see it?
I know who it was.
I know you know who it was, but they don't know who it was.
You have a picture of him easily available to you?
Yes.
Why? Why do you have a picture of this? This is the guy who they gave the job to, and how they went from me to this guy. Anybody know who that is? It's G. Gordon Liddy.
Yeah.
It's G. Gordon Liddy. He got the job I turned down.
Oh my God.
See,
G. Gordon Liddy.
look at the call letters.
WJFK.
Now, why does Phil have that picture?
I had a friend that used to listen to Gordon Liddy.
Wait a minute. Keep holding that up, and I will. All
right. My friend has passed away since, but he had Gordon Liddy send this to me.
He had him send you a fan picture. That's a fan picture. Like
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
he was one of Nixon's men.
Yeah. John Dean.
That was one of the Watergate
guys. Testifying. What's old is now new.
I don't know why did they. Come on. Anything they can do to go after Trump, I guess I'm okay with. But what was the idea of bringing in G. Gordon Liddy? We can bring Josh.
A shit show.
We can bring Josh in on this. Why John Dean, Josh? Do you have any idea?
You had enough of Liddy's picture?
Yeah, I've had enough.
Yeah, we have enough. He's ugly.
I really don't understand that either. I mean, I think they said something along the lines, or I think their thinking was the idea that, Dean was the guy who had finally had enough and, decided he was going to have some integrity and, he wasn't going to, lie for Nixon or whatever anymore. And, they wanted to trot that out, but I don't see what good it would do. Has he testified yet? I mean, did I?
Yeah, he testified. I don't even remember. I didn't even hear what he testified.
Which shows you how much. I mean, if I didn't even see it or care, I mean, I would have to think that the vast, overwhelmingly majority of Americans didn't. I mean,
didn't give a shit. Right?
I understand that they seem to have this plan where they're almost going to do impeachment by this slow, painstaking they're going to do impeachment by re-election defeat, by basically slowly drabbing Trump to death.
The death of 1,000 cuts. The death of 1,000 cuts.
Yes. Okay, yeah, good word for it. But why the first cut was John Dean?
Because they got nothing. They got nothing.
That was more like a can opener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe that's okay, and I think they've got plenty there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think it's clear this president broke the law, but the John Dean thing is, this is where Democrats typically go wrong.
Well, I could bring up to Phil.
I don't know.
Phil, your boy's statements today to what's his name over at ABC television? Stephanopoulos. Sounds like a character out of a Dr. Seuss book. Stephanopoulos.
Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street.
Yeah. But the question, I suppose, is, and it's a good one, and that is, what do you think of what the president said today about if he got information from a foreign country again, op stuff, whatever they call it, that he would do it?
Want my
Yeah. How are you going to change what he said? Go ahead.
Okay. I believe that Stephanopoulos was trying to get him, trap him, because Don Jr. was testifying before the Senate, basically about this stuff, and what he was trying to do was get Trump to say that what Don Jr. did was wrong, and Trump didn't fall for it.
That isn't what I heard.
Well, now, you may not have heard it. This is my opinion of what happened.
Well, you really have this.
I'm a great thinker.
You have this amazing prism that you watch the world through. Where do I get one of those? Because
it's called reality.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
That's not what it's called.
Not to a Democrat.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, though, what he was saying was it's okay to accept help from a foreign government for your campaign.
No, he also said
no,
that
wait a minute, Phil, that is what he said. He said, go to the FBI? Why should I go to the FBI? I've never gone to the FBI for anything.
I heard later today that he said it depends on, it depends on what they tell you.
Well, he'll always
he
walk.
says if it's illegal stuff, he'll report it.
He walked it back, Phil. But that isn't what he said initially.
No, initially,
and I'm
Any
sorry.
help from a foreign country is illegal.
And I'm not so sure.
Yes,
that
it
it's
is
illegal. It's accepting monies. I think from a
no,
foreign country or things of value.
Well, things of value is like
he didn't use the
information,
so it couldn't have been of value. And so now the Democratic Congress is trying to pass a law stating that it is going to be illegal to get these kinds of things from a foreign government. But was it illegal?
Al K, by the way, just wrote, oh no, the entrapment wine.
It's true. I mean, every person that Mueller, an American that Mueller has indicted, or it was due to entrapment. Oh, I think I met with the Russians 4 times. No, you did it 5. So you lied and you go into prison.
Yeah.
And that's,
if I remember correctly, they actually went to prison for some financial misdeeds as well.
Well, no, that was not. Who was the first chief of staff that he and his son had some problems? It was a general. It wasn't Kelly. It was.
Wasn't Kelly?
No, I don't think it was Kelly.
No, Kelly.
But there was a general that got trapped in this entrapment thing and basically ruined his life and his career. And, but those are the kinds of things. So there were some good people.
Interesting that today I saw, and the wonderful thing is I've been watching CBSN. Mainly because, they cover the election and so on. They cover the White House. How can you avoid it? But they do it dispassionately. In other words, no, I don't see any real bias there,
When they're talking negative about Trump, there's a smile on that Anne-Marie Green's face.
You see it, I don't see it. I think let me put it this way. Compared to MSNBC, it's very refreshing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I watch it every morning.
So today they ran something that none of the other networks were running, which was the president's White House gathering about his prison reform, his prison reform.
Yeah, I saw that with Kardashian.
Yeah, it was a good chance for him to, look up Kardashian's dress.
He was purposely not looking at her chest.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's very hard to miss, though. That's the problem. Or the ass. She literally is an S. Okay. But anyway, and it was on prison reform, and people were getting up and lauding him for his prison reform. And while she was thanking him for doing certain things, she didn't praise him I think she fell short of that. She didn't want to praise him, but other people were kissing his ass. Okay, and I'm wondering why is he doing this whole thing with prison reform? And then I'm thinking he's just hedging his bet against the future.
When he's there, right?
You know, I mean, you know, when he's finally somebody's butt boy, no, he's not going to be anybody's butt boy. Who would want to fuck that? Yeah. Yeah. But
Well, he's got Kardashian ass, you know. You got the blonde hair. You turn him around, and you know when you're in prison, you make concessions.
Yes,
you can have
what?
you can have the argument about entrapment, you know, which is fine. I mean, as a kind of a civil libertarian, I have a lot of issues with, you know, things like entrapment and sting operations, etc. But still, at least when it comes to politics, though, you at least have to use that evidence as, you know, being pretty clear as the questionable character of some of the people, not just Trump and his family, but the people that they've surrounded themselves with. Because, you know, let's be clear, To Catch a Predator was entrapment, but it's not as if any of the men who ever rang that doorbell just happened to be walking by and randomly rang the fucking doorbell. I mean,
I didn't have the
exactly
cookies.
catch innocent people in that. So, I mean, I'm just saying,
Alex
you know,
and I
there
didn't
is
take
some
the
validity
cookies.
to it, even if you want to make that argument.
Huh. Okay. All right. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you know, I mean, I am one of these people that goes, why are they even talking impeachment? I mean, if they started impeachment tomorrow, they wouldn't even get around to it till after the election.
They don't need an impeachment to create the possibility during the election that he has been tainted. So what all of this discussion does is it tries to weaken.
You know, look, all you have to do is read his tweets, and it taints him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I
And
think, and also, there has been some. They're quite worried in the White House because they've seen some research that shows that he is not as popular as he was when he ran the last time in those places that got him elected. That he may well lose Texas.
You know, Joe Biden, Alan Dershowitz.
And this is, by the way, this is their research. So if they're going to do anything,
Quinnipiac, yeah.
Quinnipiac.
Alan Dershowitz said today that if Joe Biden ran, that he would support him. And Alan
and that's
Dershowitz
every
was,
reason.
That is very, very nice of Alan Dershowitz to say, but of Alan Dershowitz, I must say I would not like to have Alan Dershowitz to support because he is one of the biggest fucking idiots I've ever heard of in my entire life.
He's one of
and
your
is probably, in fact, a pretty good criminal himself.
Well, he's one of your Berkeley professor types, but the thing is that he has been a spokesperson.
Was he a Berkeley professor? Was he a Berkeley professor?
He is a Berkeley professor.
Oh, he is a Berkeley professor? Of what, the School of Idiocy?
I'm not sure which.
What's he teaching at UC? Where is it? UC?
Yeah, UC Berkeley.
Yeah, UC Berkeley. What's he teaching?
Home
economics?
No. I thought it was the offshoot of the Columbia School of Broadcasting.
Apparently nowadays he teaches human trafficking and child molestation.
No, Cuba Gooding is the one that's got that going for him.
Wait a minute. Now, hold on a second. Just lay off Cuba Gooding Jr. for a second.
Well,
okay? You're making a joke about him like he's already guilty, and he has said no such thing happened.
He says he's not.
And they've got videotapes of this woman following him around the club, pursuing him.
Right.
You know, this could very well be to begin with, and I heard about this today. It's like the lead story right on, I don't know, the local news. Cuba Gooding Jr. turns himself in. He's been charged with misdemeanor. And I'm going, what? A misdemeanor, and everybody's making such a big deal out of this?
Well, how can it be a misdemeanor if she's claiming
Because it's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony.
Yeah.
So what are they making a big deal out of this for? And secondly, I will always say that there's always a chance that this is, some woman making a complaint so she can get some publicity. Especially if it's something as minimal as this, that the police don't even see it as a felony, they see it as a misdemeanor. So don't sit there and make a joke about Cuba Gooding Jr. like he's guilty.
Hey, that's what jokes are.
No, that isn't what jokes are. That's what maliciousness is.
Okay, so I'm a malicious jokester.
Well,
but,
you'd be a jokester if you were funny. There's another prerequisite you aren't making.
Yeah. Well, I know funny people.
You know funny people, right? Fun by association, I see.
And the other thing that happened today is that Huckabee Sanders is leaving, right?
Yeah.
She's threatening to leave, yeah.
No, she's not threatening. She is leaving.
I know. She lasted, what, 2.5 years?
Yeah, she lasted a long time.
I figure Scaramucci is probably going to come back and say he won't curse.
Well,
he does a good job on Fox News as a commentator.
Why is he a commentator? Who is Scaramucci? I mean, he was the president's press person for a minute and a half.
I thought it was 11 days or 7 days or something.
10 days, I think.
10 days, yeah.
Stephanopoulos was Clinton's press secretary.
Yeah, he played that one.
Yeah, and then he turned on Clinton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may remember. So.
What happened there? Didn't Stephanopoulos had some issue over a book? Or maybe that he went into Pawn Stars and bought a book. I think that was it.
Oh, he did go into Pawn Stars. You're right, Phil.
Who was this?
Stephanopoulos.
He went into the show you like.
Yeah,
guy.
Yeah, I don't like that show anymore. I used to like it when it was a half hour, and they just 20 minutes in and out, took care of it, did business. Now it's an hour-long show, so that means 40 minutes of actual program. And they stretch it out. And then the host of that show, the guy who runs the place, he has this laugh that is starting to get to me. It's like, and the little jokes they pull on each other are forced. It's just it's turning into a terrible show now.
Do you miss the old man?
Died, yeah.
Do I miss the old man? Yeah, I miss the old man.
Yeah,
Sure.
he died, yeah.
Sure, I mean, he didn't contribute much to the show, but he just sat there stuffed, doing whatever he was doing. I mean, I like that. I used to really like that show, but it's just kind of like gotten,
I like when they bring the experts in, whether they're experts or not.
Well, no, they always bring in experts, and I'm thinking, why are you running the fucking pawn shop? Why don't you just have these people run it,
Yeah. Well, they're friends. They get publicity.
Yeah. I don't know much about books, but let me bring in somebody who reads, All of a sudden they bring people. I like it better than, almost better than Antiques Roadshow, which is...
Antiques Roadshow is great.
What about American Pickers?
That's pretty staged, but... And then I like
What
those
are American
guys.
Pickers? What exactly is that?
Oh, it's like the fat guy and the skinny guy, and they make stupid jokes, and they go around all over looking at everybody's junk.
They buy signs, oil cans. They go into.
Wait a minute. They go around looking at other people's junk.
Yeah.
Well,
What do you mean by that exactly?
And they treat they treat these hoarders. I mean, you ever go into a hoarder's house?
They're
Because I do insurance work. They have claims, and I go in there, and it's like, oh, well, be careful. This stack of newspapers that goes up to the ceiling is very important, And you go into these hoarders' houses and you see food and rotten things and dead mouses underneath crap.
There is a movie.
And these guys treat them like they're normal.
There is a movie out, and it's Scott. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can remember the title here. I've got to find it for you because you got to lay your hands on this movie somehow. Let's see here, Scott. Come on, where is it? Scott. Here we go. Wait a minute. Scotty and the Secret History of Hollywood. And it is about this guy, Scott, whatever his name is, who used to run a Richfield gas station in Hollywood where people would come in from Hollywood. And he would have young men there for these guys who were secretly gay to then go back into a trailer in the back of the Richfield gas station and have sex. And the movie is about his adventures in the skin trade that way. And that everybody loved him. They still love him to this day because he was discreet and he was respectful and he was gay himself.
And then he made this movie.
Well, he was then he wrote a book, but all the people in the book are dead. Okay, but the stories he tells are just amazing about the various people in Hollywood who were gay. I mean, people that I didn't, every now and then you hear about so-and-so being gay and you go, really? I didn't think that. Like Walter Pidgeon was one of his biggest clients.
Pigeon, yeah.
Now, you wouldn't think of, if anybody remembers Walter Pidgeon, does anybody?
Mrs. Miniver.
Charlie, do you remember Walter Pidgeon at all?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? How about you, Josh? Do you remember Walter Pidgeon? No.
Yeah, I remember the name.
Jeff remembers Walter Pidgeon, right, Jeff?
No, I don't.
You don't?
Mrs.
Oh,
Miniver.
okay. Well,
The
anyway.
name, yes, but
Yeah, the name I remember. I can't remember whatever he did.
Here's a big one for you. This of course, I've known this for years, but maybe most of you didn't. Spencer Tracy
Yeah.
was gay.
Wow.
It was rumored.
And so was Katharine Hepburn. That's why they were pals. But he never lived, according to this guy, he never lived with Katharine Hepburn. But she was kind of his beard, know. And there's a funny beard because he was cheating on his wife with his beard, supposedly. But he says that Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy never had sex. Then he mentions the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. That they would come to the United States, come to Hollywood, and go to him, her to have a woman and him to have a guy.
Which Duke and Duchess?
The one that turned down the
abdicated
the throne. Yeah.
Wallace Simpson
Wow.
and
So what do they do? Go to the Richfield station, get an oil change and a blowjob?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. And they go on and on about a lot of different people in Hollywood, and it's a great documentary. It is, but the reason I brought him up was he's a hoarder. He's got like 4 homes, and they're all filled with nothing but crap.
Well, this show that Charlene was talking about, they treat these hoarders like they're normal, like they're not sick.
They do, yeah.
It's amazing. It's a sickness. And I don't understand how people can do it, and they kind of encourage them. Oh yes, we understand. No, you don't understand. Get your shit out of there
Phil,
and get a
I can
dumpster.
explain to you why they do that.
Yeah.
Because these guys have stores, and they sell these oil cans and these signs.
Yeah.
And they found out that if they go around to these crazy hoarders, that if they weed through all their junk, and they call it the rusty gold and all that, that's the business they're in.
Didn't they ever hear of
They
Craigslist?
Oh, come on, Phil.
Or eBay.
Yeah.
I think they make a lot of the stuff that they sell. That they actually make reproductions of it and then sell them in their store. I don't think all of them are real.
Well, on the show, they've bought reproduction by accident once in a while, and then they get really mad because the guy's supposed to be good, and he knows a reproduction when he sees it, and by accident he paid a ton of money and there was a reproduction.
In this Scotty and the Secret History of Hollywood, the one he brings up, and we've always suspected it, but he always denied it, was Cary Grant.
Oh yeah.
Cary Grant
and Diane Cannon swore. She wrote a book. She swore that he was straight. She was married to him or something. And
Yeah.
She gets angry.
I thought I saw some thing on Cary Grant not too long ago. I can't remember where I saw it. It was
probably a movie, Phil.
It was like Netflix or one of those. No, it was a like life history, autobiography.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something. There are certain people like Cary Grant. If you told me he was gay, people would say that. I'd go, okay, so what? Because he's so likable.
Well, they talked about his young years, and he was, I guess, grew up poor in England, and
Yeah.
Archie Beach.
yeah, and it was an interesting biography.
Yeah, but anyway, he was roomies with Randolph Scott, and if you ever saw pictures of the two of them together with their little terrier dog, and they said these are the best of pals and they're roommates.
Hey,
yeah,
I got a terrier dog.
Yeah, sure, they're roommates. What happened was Cary Grant, if you may remember, sued Chevy Chase because Chevy Chase implied that Cary Grant was gay. And he sued Chevy Chase, and Chevy relented and went, okay, he's not gay,
Richard Gere sued somebody too,
Well, the story with Richard Gere was a little more vicious.
Yeah. What was that story?
It was a magazine.
That he went to a hospital one night late
to
have a gerbil removed from his ass.
The gerbil thing, right? The gerbil thing. Now later on, he was married to Cindy Crawford.
Yeah.
And they took out a big ad, the two of them or something, because some magazine, I don't know if it's W or somebody, they made an insinuation. They've always insinuated Richard Gere was gay, right? He gets angry.
They always insinuated that Richard Gere was gay?
Yeah, they've been insinuating for years, yeah.
Yeah? Huh. Okay.
And
it
could have been
John
because he was
Travolta.
in Bent on Broadway when he came out. He did Bent or something. It was a gay play. And he played a gay character, I guess.
Really?
Now they're telling me that Vinnie Barbarino was gay.
Actually, there's stories that Travolta is gay. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's weird. Wasn't he doing something to massage guys, groping them or something? Or wasn't there a thing going around that he would get a massage in a hotel and the masseuse was complaining that he was, I think I heard that a while ago.
Really?
Yeah. It was a TMZ thing or something, I think.
Well, you didn't give enough of a tip?
There are rumors that Tom Cruise is gay. That one of the reasons he's so big a Scientologist is to try and clean the gay out of himself or something like that.
Gonna wash that gay right out.
But you see, the thing is, by saying today that somebody's gay isn't really the ruination of that person. To say, oh, do you know that Tom Cruise is gay? Well, so what? What else?
Next they're going to say that Buttigieg is gay.
Yeah, right.
Next thing you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
He puts the butt in Buttigieg. Yeah, right.
I don't know. Is he a top or a bottom?
By the way, Josh, what do you think of, and Jeff too? I'll bring Jeff into this about Mayor Pete. I think he's terrific. I think he's
beautiful because you know what? He's smart.
Yeah.
He's articulate.
Yeah.
And he's willing to open his mouth and say things.
Yeah.
Well, so is Tulsi Gabbard. She's there's some things that she stands for that I don't care. She's from Hawaii. Is she a Congress?
Is she right? There are some people, every now and then, some name comes up of somebody who's running for president with the Democrats, and I'm going, who the fuck are they?
Mm-hmm.
And why are they doing this to themselves?
You ever find out who Yang was?
Yeah, I've seen Yang. He was on Bill Maher last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lightweight. No, I think Mayor Pete, in a strange way, I think could have a good shot at winning against Trump because he's got a lot of great things going for him. Let's be honest about it.
He never missed the July 4th parade in his hometown there when he was mayor.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's, for instance, he came out the other day with his foreign policy and what we would do about Afghanistan and so on. And when he talks about it, you go, well, he's been there. He knows what it's about.
Trump wants to pull the troops out of Afghanistan.
And I think so does Buttigieg. but what? However you pronounce.
Yeah.
Mayor Pete. Yeah. But I mean, he is smart. Don't you agree, Jeff? He's smart. He's his thoughts, his ideas aren't
he has
off,
good experience.
yeah, they aren't off the wall. He's got better experience than a lot of senators in running things, you know. I mean, everybody goes, oh, he's just a mayor of some town somewhere, but you know, that's administration of a government.
He was on the school board,
Yeah.
PTA.
Yeah. And, you know, and nobody seems to even be bothered by the fact that he's gay. It just doesn't seem to come up.
You know, it's gotten to the point where if you say something negative about the fact that someone's gay, there's so much backlash that it isn't worth it.
Well, that's why I'm saying he would have a good shot against
Jeff
Trump.
seems to take offense to that.
Yes, Jeff.
I don't take offense to that. I have a different
Exception.
A different exception. I think everybody knows gay people in our family,
Yeah.
and that's the reality. And it's
Yeah.
not just one out of 1,000.
There was a time when he didn't because it was so closeted, but it's not closeted anymore. And so the fact that Mayor Pete is gay almost has no bearing on his presidential credentials. And on top of that, when he's seen with his husband, they're holding hands, they're affectionate, you know, and it's kind of like, you don't like this? Get used to it.
So let's say Mayor Pete becomes the president, and he has to deal with the Saudis and the Iranians,
Yeah.
and they kill gay people. You know, how do you think it's going to go over? Do you think that that's something that is going to, let's say, it would affect what he does if he became president?
So Matt Crash writes, Mayor Pete doesn't stand for anything. Bernie 2000. Matt, you haven't listened to Mayor Pete in the last couple of days. He's for a lot of stuff. Okay?
He's for everything Bernie's for.
Well, yeah.
And what's his name? Biden. He's for everything AOC is for.
No, he's not.
And if he's not plagiarizing,
I don't really know what. And I'll get back to your whole thing about dealing with the Saudis. Who gives a shit about dealing with the Saudis anyway?
Well, it's just, you know.
Hey, I'm gay. I'm president. Get used to it. You don't want to come to the White House and stay in Saudi Arabia. You know. Or invite me down to your embassy and cut me into 20 different pieces. You know, I mean, that's what they do over there. But what was I saying about about Biden?
Yeah.
Biden is not going to get the nomination.
You don't think so?
No. I just think there's too much between him and a nomination. I think he is the guy that Trump's most worried about because he's the guy that Trump goes after the most. And you can always tell where
he's going to be easy pickings with the Ukraine thing, with his son, and the things that were going on. I mean, Trump has got a lot of ammunition against this guy that he hasn't unloaded yet.
I don't think that kind of stuff is going to hurt him.
No?
No. I think that however, I think Mayor Pete, as an example, has very little baggage, very little that Trump can assail. I mean, what can Trump say about him? He's
gay.
Huh? No,
he's gay.
He can't use that card. That would not play well. That would be terrible. But what else can he say about him? I mean, Mayor Pete. Listen, Trump didn't have experience.
I know. That's why I guess he can't even say that.
Yeah. You know, he has a better education than Trump had. He served in the military not once but twice for 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. Trump, on the other hand, weaseled out of service. So, what can he assail Mayor Pete for? Charlie, if you're Trump, what are you going to put Mayor Pete down for?
No, I don't think he's got anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's very difficult. Now
Biden,
Biden labors under the problem that he's got 30, 40 years of baggage. All right? You know, if Mayor Pete were Biden's age, he would have 30 or 40 years of baggage too, but Mayor Pete doesn't. Obama didn't have much baggage. That's what made him such a good candidate. It was hard to assail him for a record.
And Biden did that flip-flop on the abortion thing. That didn't look too good.
Oh, the Hyde
The
Amendment?
Hyde Amendment.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not really versed on what's out there. I think his intel is back from 1988.
Yeah.
And I think he got trapped. He didn't know what he was agreeing to. But on the other hand, that's what he does.
Yes, Charlene.
He makes gaffes.
You know, it seems like Trump and Biden are starting like this thing where Biden is starting to say that Trump isn't any good, like that commercial that he ran about anti-Trump, and then he's anti-Biden.
Yeah.
So at least the other two, I was thinking Beto O'Rourke too. They're not doing this like smear campaign kind of thing right away yet.
Only one, they're all
talking
running
about
against,
issues.
Charlene, they're all running against Trump. They're all saying, hey, vote for me because I'm not Trump, except Andrew Yang. Now, I don't agree with all the Andrew Yang stuff, but he actually talks about substance and policy, and he has ideas.
Well, so is Buttigieg. Now, we got Matt Crash saying Bernie doesn't have any baggage. He has 40 years of consistency. Bullshit, Matt Crash. Go ask some people who live up in Vermont who know the man. They say he's a real asshole. Okay.
He's Gene Debs and
Alex
Roe v. Wade.
He was pro-choice before Roe v. Wade.
Yes.
Well, I mean that's fine, but I'm saying that he is not. From what I know people that know him personally and say he's not really a nice guy, and he's
and his wife's a crook too.
They say he's not great to do business with because he'll try and snocker you.
Didn't his wife get all sorts of loans from misstated things, almost like Trump's lawyer? She overstated some stuff and got hundreds.
Here's where I think Sanders' value is. Sanders' value is that he is bespeaking socialism, and he's explaining it to the population, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think, however, he can win. I just don't think he can win.
And that's the problem. A socialist.
Well, it isn't a question of a socialist.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he'd still be president if he hadn't.
And he's still dead, Charlie.
But he was a socialist that got elected 4 times.
But Wilson and Roosevelt and all of those guys, they were all a
good socialist has to do if he's running for president in this country is explain to the American public why socialism will benefit them. And once they do that, and if they do it effectively, socialism will not be a problem to get elected on.
I don't think you're right. I think
what you're thinking of is the fact that there are Republicans.
Can't touch.
These guys are
there are Republicans. There are Republicans who have poisoned the well of socialism because they've made people think, oh, socialism is terrible. And you ask people, well, why is socialism terrible? And they go, well, I don't know, but I just hear it's terrible.
It takes away the individual desire
No, not if you have socialism can work very nicely in a democracy, work very well in a capitalistic society. In other words, where the money making is capitalistic, but then has socialistic programs to take care of the real needs of people, like health.
Like Hong Kong?
What do you mean? Like, what do you bring up Hong Kong for?
That was a total capitalistic
Phil. No, it is still working as a social. It's still working as a socialistic entity. As a capitalistic entity. What's going on in China, in Hong Kong, has nothing to do with socialism or has to do with capitalism.
Government control.
What? It has to do with government control. Yes. And that has nothing. The Chinese are all for capitalism. Look at them.
Because all they get is a bowl of rice.
Look,
and
Phil,
now they give half.
Phil, that's racist.
Well, they're starving.
Okay, shut up a second, Phil. Josh was giving a look. Josh, what did that look say?
I don't think it was for Phil, actually. Sorry.
What was it for? Something
It
else?
was for the fact that my phone let me know, like, from 14 different people that the fucking Raptors won that basketball game. All kinds of shit. I don't care.
That's so terrible. Maybe now I'll be able to get back on the court.
No.
So sorry.
The point is that this country needs a nice socialist base, but certainly we can be capitalist, but it has to be responsible capitalism. It can't be greedy capitalism, just like you don't want socialism that is so socialistic to the exclusion of everything else. What we need is a nice, good balance in this country. And we don't have a balance in this country. This is a greedy, capitalistic country in which all our decisions are made upon our greedy needs and not on in the best interest of the people. And somehow the stupider people are being sold a bill of goods and being told socialism is bad. Socialism would be great for them. It would be great for the farmers.
They're greedy? You don't think guys like Al Gore and the tax?
I don't give a shit.
The carbon tax. That's all a socialistic ploy
no,
to give the elites more wealth.
I think that I don't think
they're going to run it.
I don't think that's the reason why Al Gore's doing what he's doing. I mean, why is he doing what he's doing, Phil?
Because he felt that would make him rich beyond his wildest dreams.
No, he did not. He's not an environmentalist for the money.
Oh, then why does he want a carbon tax?
Well,
he's trying to fix the.
Well, you're acting like if there's a carbon tax, Phil, he's going to get a cut of it. Come on, Phil.
Get a cut of it.
Not only will he get a cut of it, he'll tell you how he wants it spent.
Why does Trump think that these tariff things work? I mean, your boy Trump wants to tax people.
Because he's trying to level the playing field.
He's leveling the playing field
that are
but where he's an idiot is he
behind their backs.
He doesn't understand. He does not understand economics. I don't know how he got his degree from wherever that was. Wharton. Because the fact of the matter is that tariffs are not punitive against the country you're doing the tariffs against. It's punitive against the people who are buying the goods from that country.
Americans from buying from foreign countries.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't punish the foreign countries. That punishes
Yes, it does. You don't buy their shit. It sits on a ship somewhere out in the middle of the ocean.
Oh, no. They simply send it to India and they'll buy the shit there.
They make their own shit there.
Hey, you don't want Chinese goods? That's fine.
Hey, almost every manufacturer of flooring that I deal with is now manufacturing in Vietnam or and Malaysia and other countries to avoid the tariffs. Almost nothing is going to come from PRC, People's Republic of China. I get these cartons. They say PRC. Where are they from? Puerto Rico.
Believe me, the Chinese are not sweating it. Okay,
yeah.
They're not sweating it.
Well, you also
because what they're going to
also can't believe that if tariffs harm the exporting country, you can't really believe that and also be anti-immigration, especially in the case of Mexico, because those two things don't really mesh. If it's going to kill Mexico's economy, that's not going to want to make Mexicans not come here.
When did Trump say he was anti-immigration? He said he was anti-illegal immigration.
He's anti-Mexican.
I think it's pretty clear
he
that's
wants people to come in on a merit basis. We
only want rich Mexicans who could have came here anyway.
Smart Mexicans. You don't have to be rich yet.
People seeking asylum are not doing so illegally. That is perfectly legal.
Yeah, no, it's because the coyotes are giving them a speech. Oh, I need asylum.
But they go to Ecuador and some of these places in Guatemala and see what's happening there.
I heard the nice
They
place.
have real reasons to be leaving those places.
Yeah, and if they would put jobs down there, then instead of in China, those people would have something.
Folks, in case you're listening to this program, Phil is our special child.
Yeah.
And you
Real special.
we have to treat him with a certain amount of. Here, look, here's a lollipop, Phil.
Hey, maybe I'm a relative of Howard Stern.
Yeah. Anyway.
We're gonna get you the help you need.
Thank you.
I want to
Just
say
dietetic.
I want to say good night to you. Good night, Phil. We won't see you tomorrow night.
No.
And good night, Jeff, and good night to Charlie, and good night to Charlene, and of course Josh. Always pleasure having you here. Come back tomorrow night. The coast will be clear. You can get a word in edgewise. Everybody, why don't you give a big wave goodbye to everybody out there, and I'll wave back at you. Okay, it's the customary nighttime wave here on this Ramble. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Good show tonight. Good show. And I actually felt pretty good all night. Except my chest is hurting. That's another story. It's not a heart attack. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm going to be going now because I have to go because Jack Bishop is next. He's going to be here with a program called The Intersection. I'll be back again tomorrow night after Damian Chaplin is here. Excuse me, because my voice is here with the exchange. I'll be back again tomorrow night at, you got it, 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.